Hello there. This is your independent work for Monday, the 5th of October. I am currently going to actually look at the L1 level here. So as you can see, if you're L1 versus L2, the directions look slightly different. However, you're doing pretty much the same things, okay? So the directions just look a little bit different. So don't panic on that, okay? What you're going to be doing is you're going to be reading the article once for understanding and once for purpose. Now, you can also listen 2 times instead of reading yourself, but you definitely want to follow along. Part 2 is reading and understanding the multiple choice. Those are single answer questions. That means you only pick one answer. You want to make sure to cross out the answers that you know are wrong. Those are called distractors. Then go back to the text to find your evidence and make your choice for the correct answer. Part 3 is question 5, and question 5 is a constructed response question. That means that it is short answer, and you will need to answer by using this criteria here. Okay? So basically it's saying you need to start your answer using the wording from the question, and then actually answer the question, of course. That's one sentence. Second sentence is you need to use an evidence sentence starter and a detail from the text to add on / prove your answer. And then finally, your third sentence is another evidence sentence starter and another detail from the text to prove your answer. That is 3 total sentences for number 5. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you this text once, but your job is after you've listened once to go back and listen again before you listen to the questions and start working on those. Okay? Because that will help us to comprehend our reading better. The text is called Who Loves the Sun? Iguanas. That's an iguana right here. Okay. When it is sunny out, the temperature is usually warmer. This is because sunlight is warm. When there is a lot of sunlight, we feel warmer. But we are not the only animal that notices when it is sunny out. There is an island in the ocean where a special animal lives. This animal is called an iguana. Iguanas are a kind of lizard. Like a lot of animals, iguanas need sunlight to live. If they don't get enough sunlight, they get too cold. When they get too cold, they can become unhealthy, just like a person can develop health problems from becoming too cold, being too cold. So, an iguana has to always watch for when the sun comes out. Iguanas usually live in caves. These are good places to hide from bigger animals, but because caves do not get a lot of sunlight, they are not very warm. So, if an iguana starts to feel cold, it crawls out of its cave and tries to find a place with a lot of sunlight. It will sit in the sunlight for a long time. This makes the iguana's body warmer and helps it stay healthy. Where is an iguana's favorite place to sit? Iguanas like to sit on rocks. This is because the rocks are often warm. The rocks are warm because they have been sitting in the sunlight. Just like the iguana, if a rock sits out in the sunlight, then the rock will get warmer too. So I'm assuming here this is talking about rocks outside of the caves, right? Okay. Sunlight can make many things warm. All over the world, wherever the sun is shining, places are being warmed by sunlight. Any surface that gets sunlight is made warmer. During the summer, when it gets hot, people go inside their houses because they want to get less sunlight. The iguana does that too, and it will go back into the cave when it gets too hot. You can test this with an experiment. If you go outside, try standing in a place where you are in the sunlight. Stay for a couple of minutes. After that, walk into a place where there is less sunlight, like the shade under a tree. Then ask yourself, in which place did I feel hotter? You will probably feel hotter in the sunlight. This is because the sunlight is warm. When people or things are in the sunlight, they become warmer too. So that seems obvious in a lot of ways, except that this little buddy here and many animals really, really need the sunlight to help them stay healthy. And sometimes animals on their own are going to have trouble regulating their body temperature if they don't go to places that are warm or cold. So they have to sometimes go search for those places to help their body adjust temperature. So if you have listened one time, your job right now is to go back to when I started to read the story and listen again. If you've already listened twice, fantastic. You can listen to these questions. And as I read them, if you see a distractor that you know is wrong, for sure, you can cross it out, the whole thing, put a big line through it. But then, if you are not sure, that's when you might want to go back to the text or listen to me read again to double check, because the text does talk about all of this. Okay, and remember, there's only one right answer for these multiple choice. There's not more than one, it would say if there was. So it says, what does the text compare to an iguana? The passage compares caves to an iguana. The passage compares sunlight to iguanas. The passage compares humans to iguanas. And the passage compares experiments to iguanas. There's a part where they're saying, like iguanas, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so look back in the text, makes a comparison about how iguanas' bodies work and how something else works. What is this text mostly about? Is it about A, rocks and islands, B, caves and experiments, C, iguanas and sunlight, D, standing and sitting? So remember, you are supposed to be thinking about almost like a main idea in a way here. But they don't write a complete statement. They're writing just a couple words that summarize instead. Number 3, according to this passage, what happens to something when it is placed in sunlight? A, it gets warmer. B, it gets colder. C, it gets larger. D, it gets smaller. Something tells me you might be able to figure this one out without even looking at the text. Number 4, read the following sentences. So that this is like these type of questions, they pull a sentence out of the text, okay? So this sentence here, in my quotation marks, is from the story. They're just being really nice and like placing it right here so you don't have to go look back. But sometimes it helps to look back because then, like, if there are sentences nearby that sentence, they sometimes will help you with context clues, okay? So it says, read the following sentences. You can test this with an experiment. If you go outside, try standing in a place where you are in the sunlight. And then it's saying the word experiment in this situation means, so they're talking about this sentence, actually I should say group of sentences here. What is an experiment? What are they talking about? What does that mean? Is it A test or scientific investigation? Investigation is where you figure something out. B, a walk. C, playtime. D, homework. Now remember, plug in these words in place of experiment and see what fits, which makes sense. And you may want to go back to this part in this text and read the rest, because it might give you a little more in terms of your clues. Now, number 5, short answer. So this is the one where we have to write 3 sentences. If you are in L1, you have 3 sentence starters for you already that you just have to fill out the rest. So you just have to continue the sentence. Where do iguanas live? That is the question. It says, use evidence from the text to support your answer and explain why they do not always live in that space. Now, I want you to think about not just like the islands part, but where do they usually hide out and stay? Okay, so not just saying that they are from an island, but where do they usually live? Like, where is their habitat on that island? Okay, because I'm realizing that this question isn't very specific, and a lot of people might say islands. That is not what this is looking for. Hint, 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 hint. That should be it for you. Remember, you need to say iguanas usually live blank. My first piece of evidence is, and you could tell me, like, either if the text said something else about that, or adding on about why they don't live in that place all the time. And then another reason you know this is okie dokie, good luck.